What's up, Stark? Welcome back to another episode. Joined by several friends today, including our very first podcast interview, Ryan Miller. He's back. We had 72 other guests between him. We're on episode 73.
That's me.
So I'm not being mean. I'm just stating a fact, Ryan. You got us kicked off in this direction. Now we're 4 seasons in. So thank you for that. Also joined by Mike and Adam here, all of 4th Street Collective, which is where we're sitting today. Ryan, I'm going to kick it off to you to get started, kind of tell us how this all came about and why we're here today.
Yeah, so what you're not seeing or witnessing is just on the other side of the camera is what has always been Deli Ohio. We started it about 11 years ago, 34-person dining room, and had this space back here. Always knew that it could be so much more. Weren't quite sure ever which direction we were going to go. Was it going to be a meeting space or right before COVID, we were starting to tear down walls so we could do like an extended dining room. But then finally we're just like, look, there's, we know what we do well, which is lunch, but there's a lot of life in these walls between after 9 and 2:30. So, we kind of thought, what if we had another restaurant, maybe a bar, some other concepts in here at the same time. Not necessarily all open at the same time, but just extend our hours so that we're not closing the blinds and turning off the lights at 2:30 every night. So
now I know those concepts kind of exist elsewhere. This is kind of the first time that I think we've seen this in Stark County, correct?
For sure, yeah. So love hitting up food halls and larger markets and stuff like that. The big difference here is that we're kind of operating as 3 businesses as their own businesses, but kind of trying to have a shared focus of, whether that's food quality, whether that's, staffing, intention. I think even though it's pizza and it's a deli and it's, a bar, what you're really seeing is the craftsmanship of the actual thing. So instead of us all being open, you having to decide, you could literally come here for a breakfast biscuit in the morning, come back for lunch, come back for pizza at night, and have a beer every single time you're here. So
love it.
Yeah.
Plan to do all of those things several times.
Yeah.
So right now, the current operation has brought Mike into the mix.
That's right.
I know it goes back a little ways beyond just the opening of this. So you want to talk about how you had the good fortune of getting hooked up with Ryan here to get the pizza business up and off the ground?
Yeah, for sure. So I moved here in 2012 from New York. And I think the first night I was here, I went on Yelp and was like, "What's the number 1 rated pizza in town?" I got it, and I was like, "What is this?" Coming from New York, everything was very different. Very used to that thin New York style that you can fold. And so it took me a while to realize that I wasn't going to really be able to find something like that out here. So I just decided to go down a rabbit hole and figure out a way to make it myself. And I've always been a home cook. And so that took me a couple of years to sort of work on my recipes and get it to a place that I liked it. And then basically to see if it was ready for prime time, I just so happened to run into Ryan when he was, when they were opening Walkie Talkie Coffee. And he was doing some of his pastries from Deli outside. And the only question I really had was what do I have to do for the health department so I can do pizza in a pop-up scenario? And within 5-10 minutes of talking, he was like, we should talk more. And then within a couple weeks it was, hey, let's do a pop-up here, which was our first ever there at Walkie Talkie. And then I think 2 months later we started here at the deli space. And then from that point forward we were essentially once a month, 40 pies a month, all the way through until the COVID lockdowns, and then we kind of ramped up a little bit. But by that point, we had sort of a built-in customer base, which was great. I didn't know when this concept came up if people were going to like it. I knew for sure that it wasn't something that you can get around here. So I wasn't sure what the palate was like, and then all of a sudden here comes all these people that are coming every month, and all of a sudden we're putting up our pizzas to be pre-ordered a week in advance, and they're selling out in 30 seconds. So that was awesome. So that was a nice proof of concept. And then for about 2 years in, it was just, when are you gonna have full time? When are you gonna have full time? And we had been talking about it for a while, what to do to make that Mike's Pizza brand, to take to the next step. And one of the earliest ideas we really had was to try to do something within this building. The idea that we've been here, we have all this goodwill here, and we want to do something in this neighborhood, and how to make that happen. And so this was just the perfect way to do it, to have not only our 2 kitchens but also to be, with Adam's business and be able to have that great complement of beer with both of our menus is awesome. Like, it's way more than I definitely could have hoped for when I saw you outside a coffee shop and was like, hey man, like, I want to start making pizza.
Like, sign your name here. Let's go.
Yeah.
Well, big fan of the pizza, obviously. I think it's been getting really good reviews. How would you describe it to our listeners? What makes it unique from what you do get around, what you've seen here when you arrive?
So a couple things, like we take real care in the ingredients that we use. That's number one. Like, for just as an example, like our flour that we use is never bleached, never bromated. That was a huge thing from the minute I started the pop-up, was to try to elevate the ingredients that we use, but still make, at least in my eyes, something that is really recognizable as a very classic New York style pizza. So the ingredient level is high. Everything that we make is in-house, so like our sauces are in-house, things like that. One of the things that I'm super excited about but wasn't sure of was that a lot of people now are like hooked on this lemon ricotta that we use for our white pizzas. Like, it was actually really funny this weekend. This lady came in, and I've seen her a bunch of times since we opened. We've only been open for 2 months, but I've seen her like a few times, seen the name on the ticket, And so she comes in, and there's really no one in the dining room. She's there at the end of the day, and she grabs the pizza, and I guess because like there was no one around and we were just there, she starts talking to us, and she's like, I gotta tell you, she's like, can you sell me? She's like, just a thing of the lemon ricotta. I was like, nah. I was like, I can't do that. I was like, yeah, please. And she's like, I looked at the ticket, and they're like, yeah, she had 6 sides of that.
6 of that stack.
Yeah. And she's like, she told me, she's like, I'm at home, I'm trying to make it myself. She's like, I can't get it.
Not working.
She's like, what do I do? I'm like, you gotta keep coming back. I don't know what to tell you. I can't give away all the secrets.
How about the hot honey? I know that's pretty high demand too.
Yeah, so the hot honey is cool because that's Mike's Hot Honey from Brooklyn, New York, and that's sort of a big deal in the East Coast. And like, they're fairly new, I guess, over the last 10 years. It's really caught on, but like, my love of the East Coast pizza style, like when I would go back and I'd get slices back home where I'm from, New York, all of a sudden hot honey was on everything. And then when I really started getting into making those white pizzas, actually, that was like the first slice I had hot honey on it. It was just such a compliment to that, like with the sweetness from the honey and the little bit of heat, but also like right on that really clean slice, really, really nice. So then when I got here and we were sort of conceptualizing the pizzeria, that was an ingredient that it didn't seem like at the time many people had. Now it's sort of caught on to like chains and things, but at the time when we started like getting it from our supplier, I don't think anybody was like putting that on pizza. So it took a little while for everybody to catch up, and now it's like, I mean, we go through so much of it, it's crazy. Like every time someone orders a pie and they see that we have it, they're like, oh yeah, I gotta get one of those. It's really cool.
So has the demand stayed strong since you've gone to the more full-time operation? What are some of the favorite dishes that you guys or pies that get sold?
For sure. I mean, since the beginning of the pop-up, our number one seller is our pepperoni, the El Pepe. And like, that's my absolute favorite pizza. Like, if I'm getting a pizza anywhere, it's a pepperoni pie. And so, I mean, I don't want to say that like I didn't pour over all my other pizzas to make sure that they're like perfect, because I love the flavors that we get, but like, because I love a pepperoni pizza so much, like from the very beginning, it was, how do I make a pepperoni pizza that one I really like, and then it was like, how if I can, like, how do I exceed that? And so for me and for Ryan, like working together and like getting this thing going, that pizza for me is like the platonic ideal of what our shop is. It's like, it's got the fresh basil on it, 3 different kinds of cheese. We use Ezo pepperoni from Columbus, which is a premium pepperoni that cups when it's heated. The slice itself is sort of crispy enough to hold up on its own. It cracks when you fold it. Like, those are all the little things that I look at, that if I'm making what I think I can make as a pizza man, a 10 out of 10, that's what I'm getting. And like, obviously, like anything, there's varying degrees of what you get of that product when you're trying to put it out perfect every time. But like, that one I take so much pride in, and that's everybody's favorite.
I know that's popular at our house as well, and you've got a lot of other unique pizzas with toppings on there. I think really go over well, have a nice mix there. It seems like the public has responded, which is exciting.
Yeah, it's really cool. The one specific pizza that we have here that we were calling our house specialty forever is called the Temple of Shroom. And so what makes it unique, or what I like about it, is that in this area it is very unique. Like you can get white pizzas other places, and they're typically just going to be like a 4 cheese. This has a sesame seed crust, caramelized onions, mushrooms. It's finished with parsley. You get 3 cheeses. There's pecorino romano, and it's got like a little bit of a flair to it that adds these little elements to the eating experience. So like having that sesame seed crust to finish off is really nice, and dipping that sesame seed crust in like Mike's Hot Honey is awesome. So for me, it was a thing where it's like, I know I like this is a great pie in my opinion, but I don't know if like people again are going to be like so receptive to this. It's a little different. And one of the things that's really been encouraging is like I'll get people now that all they order is that. And I know there's a couple of people that order it consistently now that like in the pop-up days we were like, you should try this. Like I know it's like maybe not something that you would automatically go like, yeah, I'm going to get that pizza, especially when you're really only going to get 2 because they're limited. But there were enough times where we were getting repeat customers at the pop-up. We're like, hey, you always get this and this, try this. Or sometimes we had slices occasionally, we would push the like, hey, try the white pie, And now I see people for sure come back that like that's their pie, which is awesome. That's super cool to see.
And those like years of doing pop-ups was instrumental not only in building a client base or like a customer base from day one out the gate, but we were also fortunate enough that I don't know how many different versions of dough we went through, how many times we tweaked the sauce recipe to the point where okay, opening day, but like we're not sitting here like, how should we approach this pizza? Like we know now, we've locked it in, this is the way we're going to do it. So it's been great for that.
Now I have had one question that I was told I had to ask. Are you going to do pizza by the slice at any point?
So basically when it comes to like bigger events that are going to be downtown where there's more foot traffic, we're definitely going to try to be doing pizza by the slice every time.
Brewery open.
Yeah, brewery open, everything open. The idea of being, hey, if you want to hang with us and catch the whole vibe that we're doing, you have a space to have an entire pizza with your family or a couple. But if you're just going through the town doing the things that are, ready for you that day, come down, we're in the Dora district as well. So it's like, grab a slice, grab a beer, take it on the go, whatever you want. And what's cool about this particular space is we're able to do both of those things. And our menus really, I think, lend itself to that. So slices are definitely going to be a thing that we are going to really be hopeful for and pushing for as the summer starts.
Well, I'm actually glad you guys aren't baking today because just my mouth's watering here just talking about it. So if I had to smell it too, that would put me over the top. But
I got to stop eating it.
I bet it's probably hard.
It's getting real. It is hard. It's like kid at a candy shop. Like I started making pizza because I love pizza. So like now I'm around it all the time. It's like, well, I guess I'll just have to slide.
It's just here, right? You got to do it. Well, I think the last piece of the puzzle, then you got to wash down the delicious pizza with a nice glass of beer. So, Adam, tell me about how you got roped into all this.
And speaking of which, can you get me one of those?
I was going to say, they've been sitting here. They're only getting warmer.
So I actually met, Ryan will have to tell me when this was because I can't remember, but Todd runs the SID and does a bunch of stuff downtown. I even forget how we even got in touch, but he was having an event, get together at his house. He was like, hey, you need to come down. You need to meet Allie and Tanja from Visit Canton, Ryan from the Deli, etc. Mike, you were there as well. That's literally the first time I've met both of these guys here. And Ryan just happened, he brought his plans for the
Woodland Square.
Yeah, Woodland Square.
Yeah.
And he was talking about Little Fleet, this place in Traverse City that he emulated from. I was like, oh, I've been there. We kind of like hit it off from there. The pizza concept was already kind of going from. You guys were doing it across the street at the Walkie Talkie Coffee place.
That was the plan then.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we started kind of talking about, okay, well, how do we've always talked about expanding the brewery even from day one. Where do we go? How do we do it? And we kind of started our kind of plans about Woodland Square and open up a little tap room in there and a bunch of kind of a similar concept to what we have here. Multiple vendor, kind of thing. Fast forward a couple years, COVID. We opened right before COVID. So getting our sea legs about us again, we knew we wanted to expand to Canton. And we looked at a lot of places down here, probably more than 20 different spots, a couple Ryan's buildings, etc. Timing didn't work out. And then Starflyer came in and had a concept in here at the same time that Mike's Pizza said, hey, I'm ready to go full-time kind of thing. Unfortunately, Starflyer fizzled out here at this location. I'm glad to see that they're doing something downtown still. But at that point, I'm like, Ryan, we're ready to go. So the minute we kind of did our handshake thing, we were in the next day demoing this place. And we've been at it since, and we've got a couple weeks left, and we're hoping to open May 22nd, as long as we get all of our final things with liquor control. But I'm happy the way it happened naturally. We didn't force it at any point in time. We've always said we're not going to force it. It all ended up happening because of friendships and people we've met, and I think it's going to be a great combo with the deli being established, 10 years now. We're coming up on our 5th year, so we've got a pretty good following, and we have a totally unique concept coming here, and then to add it with really, really good New York style pizza that you can't get anywhere around here. I think it's a great combo for people. Being in the Door District, we are going to have a back patio this summer as well, so we're trying to fast track that. So live music and then just the possibilities of food trucks out there and music and car shows and whatever else. So I'm super excited. I'm glad it worked out the way it did. And I'm excited for our concept and that we don't have to run a kitchen.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice.
Just worry about the beer.
Yeah, just worrying about the beer.
I think the slogan 4th Street Collective, built through friendship, is kind of fun.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, we had what tagline is deli by day, pizza by night, beer all day long.
Yeah, that's good.
It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a fun summer.
So can you tell us a little bit about what folks will experience here that will be different than if they were at Unhitched?
Yeah, so Unhitched, conceptually, we have a very strong sense of agriculture at Unhitched, so we have a really small footprint for our sourcing for beer. Right now, 95% plus of our ingredients from the malt and the hops in all of our beers come from Ohio. We have a 400-mile footprint. It's on one of the beer glasses. It's up at the bar. But we have a 400-mile footprint that we don't go beyond that for sourcing, and that's because our yeast comes from Chicago. That's the only reason why that's so far. But we do, this place in Chicago does custom yeast blends for us that our head brewer has a good relationship with those guys. But the unique part about the wood shop is that we're going to be doing 100% barrel fermentation. So a lot of times you'll see like barrel aged beers. So you'll make a beer in stainless, the yeast will ferment, and then you throw it in a barrel, either an oak barrel, wine barrel, impart some of those flavors. At that point, it's just aging. We're going to be doing all fermenting in wood. Okay. So we have 2 foeders, which are just basically giant oak barrels. We're going to have a house Pilsner in one, and then a house sour in the other. And it'll be a Solera, so it'll kind of like be an evolving sour beer. We'll pull 5 barrels out, put 5 fresh in. And then we'll have a nice mix of just oak barrels, wine barrels, things like that. We'll do a lot of cool, funky saisons. We've got this one stainless tank back here for blending, so we can do anything fruited. We can blend if we have, at some point we're going to have probably like 30 or so barrels back here. So, you start pulling different beers at different periods of time, blending them, making different unique beers. So that's the main focus. So at some point we have 8 beers on tap, actually 9. At some point they will all be wood shop beers, I think. Okay. But to start, we'll probably have 5 unhitched beers, and we'll mix them in. But we have a blonde sour that we're gonna launch at opening or soon after, and that's been in a barrel for over a year. Wow. So we're excited about that one. But yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people do barrel aging and some fermenting, but this is one. I'm sure people do it, but this will be solely 100% wood fermented beers all in here. So I'm really excited about that.
Well, then you had me sampling a drink before we got started,
Yeah.
so there are cocktails as well.
So yeah, we were actually doing some cocktail tasting today because of the pizza focus. We're also going to have cocktails and wine. They will all have more of an Italian focus to it, especially on the wine side, and on the cocktail side, you've got an Aperol Spritz. Katie was riffing on a bunch of stuff today, and excited to get the wine in here too. So the whole point, like at Unhitched, we make beers that are very rustic in nature, very true to style, and they all lend themselves well to pairing with different foods. And that's no different than what we're doing here, especially on the cocktail side. Wine side, be really nice to pair with the pizza and meatballs and Caesar salad.
But that Pilsner with the pepperoni pizza is going to be money.
Yeah, so
It's going to be so good.
The house pills is going to be an Italian style pills, which basically means it's like a hoppy pills. And that'll be in the fooder here, and it's going to be on a slow pour, so you'll see the one valve behind you. It's on its own keg. You can dial basically the foam, and you can dial it. And there's some really cult ones. The name's escaping me in Denver, but it's like the primo slow pour. It's called the slow pour pills. And we're hoping to emulate some kind of effect there in that the one beer glass there. We call it a mid-Italian pills.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So our house IPA and our house Saison, Fino, and Ironwood, those we both call them Midwestern and Midwest beers. It's not an actual beer style, but because we are using really locally sourced Midwestern ingredients, we're dubbing a lot of these things Midwest. So our Mid-Italian pills is kind of our ode to traditional Italian pills.
So how much input do either of these two gentlemen have in what beers are created? Like, is there going to be a deli collab or
The only
like
input
a
I
pepperoni
have-
pills or something?
I demanded a pills,
Right,
and you demanded
a
a
Hefeweizen.
Yeah.
It's the only input I've had.
Okay,
Is
all right.
is putting
And
it-
you said day one you wanted an Aperol Spritz.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
that's for
For
sure.
cocktails,
Like,
so.
yeah, the cocktails and the wine program was actually, in all seriousness, was something we discussed really early on.
Okay.
Because for sure, there is definitely a market for beer and pizza. There's no doubt about that. But the kind of pizza that we're serving, we just wanted it to be a little more special. And the idea, I love, like in New York, you go, especially in like New York City, you can go into a restaurant that is a full Italian restaurant. So like you got a beautiful dining room. It's kind of dark. It's like a nice place for like date night. But they have a great pizza program as well, like a top-notch pizza program. So like you can have a great wine or a great cocktail with your pizza. And it's not unusual. It's all in this one kind of nice sort of vibe, and I think that's kind of like what we're going for. So that was a day one for sure.
Yeah.
The nice thing with Garrett is that even at Unhitched, Garrett really defines what beers are made. We'll go through and we'll say, hey, I had this beer, I was traveling, I had this beer, really liked it. He'll go research a little bit, or he'll go try to find it, and then he'll just riff on it. So same, like if somebody comes to him with a concept, even a server, bartender, whoever, like, oh, I really like this style of beer, the bitterness was nice, he'll like, okay, I can make that, and he'll use the local ingredients and go with it. So he's really open-minded to a lot of stuff, except for hazies. We don't do a lot of hazy beers, but Samurai Hotel we call it an extra pale ale. It's a hazy pale ale. And Wakeside, he calls it a juicy IPA. It's a hazy IPA. So
We're gonna have to give it a try.
yeah.
You just got to know what you're ordering when you're at.
You have to know what
Unhitched.
you're ordering. But Garrett's super talented. This is the nice thing is that we hire really good people to do what they do really well, and so Garrett's done a phenomenal job with us, and he's gonna. And this is his passion, is sour beers, wood fermentation, and so this has been a project that we've talked about. We hired Garrett a year before we opened in 2018, and we've been talking about this ever since. So really glad that it's coming alive.
Well, guys, we appreciate you doing this for us today. Really looking forward to the success of what's to come, and appreciate you guys having the vision to bring this together. I think it's going to be really exciting for Stark County. So,
Heck yeah.
cheers to you guys.
Yeah, cheers. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
And we'll see everybody next time on What's Up Stark.